It is Tuesday, December 18th, a week away from Christmas. And you know what that means, Jules?
Hot stove season.
Another edition of Hot Stove Tuesday on G&T Sports Talk. We got some new signings. We got some news coming up on the baseball front. G&T Sports Talk. I'm Bobby Thompson.
I'm Julian Gallardi.
And
let's get it.
And welcome back to another edition of G&T Sports Talk. I am Bobby Thompson.
I'm Julian Gallardi.
And what do we got today, Jules, on this Hot Stove Tuesday?
Okay, so we got a couple things going on with the Yankees. The first bit of news, it's actually nothing to do with players, but Carlos Beltran has been hired by the Yankees as a special assistant to GM Brian Cashman. So that is an interesting move. And the timing and the relation to Machado is actually there. So they have the same guy representing them in Dan Laziano. He represents Beltran in MVP Sports, so I'm thinking that the Yankees did this to try to get Beltran and Dan Laziano in his ear. So let's see if that pays off for the Yankees, because the White Sox also had some posturing on their side. They trade for Yadier Alonso from the Indians.
And if people don't know, that is Manny Machado's brother-in-law.
Yeah. So that was not a coincidence. Alonso hit 250 with 23 homers, 83 RBIs, a WAR of just 1.6. So his impact on the field won't be too great. They also have Jose Abreu, obviously. So I'm assuming they'll be swapping a little first base DH action. They'll both be in the lineup. They're not moving Abreu right now, so they're going to coexist together. And I guess they did this to maybe try to get Machado. They could also use more production since they don't really have any in that lineup behind Abreu. So I guess it makes sense in a couple different angles. How do you view it?
Well, I feel that they did this trade because they did need some power, some star power. And Yonder Alonso on the Indians, I feel like he was a little bit undervalued. He was very, very underrated in my opinion.
Yeah,
I like the signing by them. You know, him and Abreu. Well, I think they're going to split time. Listen, he's in the AL. If you want one of them to play first base, the other can DH. So it all works out. But I think that this move, honestly, this was kind of a lure to try to get Machado to come on.
Because it's not like this is going to make
first base.
Yeah, you didn't desperately need this guy. Obviously, I mean, he helps in certain areas. The White Sox give up minor league outfielder Alex Call, and he played in Double-A and Single-A, had 12 homers and I believe 58 RBIs on the season, splitting time between the two levels, so he's not a really big player. He's all 23, 24 already, so it's really just a salary dump by the Indians, and we got to talk about the Indians. Another trade that came through with the Indians was the deal for Encarnacion. Well, sent Encarnacion up to Seattle. They get Carlos Santana back. They also send Yandy Diaz to the Rays, and they receive Jake Bauers from the Rays. A lot of moving parts in this trade. What do you think about it overall?
Well, I think that it seems to me that the Indians really missed Santana. I think they really liked him there.
And he's happy to be back, too.
Oh, absolutely. He's definitely happy to be back.
I don't think he wanted any part of Seattle.
No, absolutely not.
Poor Encarnacion. No one wants to be up there right now.
But let me tell you, Edwin Encarnacion, for people who don't know, he is probably one of the best hitters in baseball. His
power numbers are always there.
He's full of power. And, you know, I think that they're going to definitely miss him. I know the Indians really liked him. When they traded him, I really don't understand why, especially since the fact that you just lost Yonder Alonso. So, but, you know, you get Santana back, who they really like, so maybe it all works out. But all in all, I think this trade was a little bit cockeyed, in my opinion. You know.
You don't really like it from the Indians' view?
No, I don't like it from the Indians' view, but Edwin Encarnacion got traded to Seattle?
Yes, he's in Seattle.
And I heard, is there speculation that they're going to get rid of him or they're going to keep him?
Yes, here's the deal with that. So I don't expect him to stay in Seattle. I think this is actually a move for them to get more assets because Encarnacion is more valuable than Santana. He has a buyout after this season, so it's only 1 year of him. He makes around $25 million, so it's a large contract for a year, but you're off of it after next year. Santana was 2 years, so I can see why the Mariners did this. It makes all the sense in the world for them.
The Mariners, you know what? They seem to be like outsmarting everybody lately, aren't they? We said this.
I mean, the rebuild it makes sense. I see what they're doing. The rebuild is gonna make sense. They're putting all the pieces in place for the rebuild.
We said this a few weeks ago, Jules, that the Mariners are running the offseason.
And they still are.
They trade Paxton to the Yankees. They get rid of Cano. Diaz to the Mets.
Zunino and
yeah.
Everyone else.
All of these assets,
Herrera
and they're just getting young. They're getting
Segura.
more assets. They're just trying to get better. So you know what? You got to applaud them for what they did. They got rid of the dead money on their team, which I'm talking about with Cano. So they don't have to worry about that. They're definitely in a rebuild. It's going to take a very long time. And I'm going to say this. Don't be surprised if they trade away King Felix soon. I feel that coming.
Here's the issue with King Felix. I talked about the other guys they have on that payroll that they want to get rid of. D. Gordon, Mike Week.
Yeah.
Kyle Seager, I think they want him to rebound so they can get rid of him later on. They have no plans to move Seager right now. But Felix Hernandez's contract, that thing's almost impossible to move. He's on the wrong side of his career, and he's making well over $20 million. I don't see how they get him off.
Unbelievable.
But it makes sense. They definitely, if they're able to get rid of him, they will get rid of him, but they're going to have to eat a large chunk of money to do that. Yeah. I'm not sure who's willing to gamble on Felix at this point.
We'll see what happens.
So I break this trade down. The Rays actually get $6 million from the Mariners, and the Indians receive $5 million from the Rays, I believe. No, it's the other way around. The Indians get $6 from the Mariners, and the Mariners get $5 from the Rays. Okay, so I got that together. And Yandy Diaz only had 109 at-bats. He hit .309 with 1 homer and 15 RBIs. He's the first and third baseman, so he basically takes the place of Bauer's. And I guess the Rays were not high on Bauer's. He had a low average, had 11 homers and 48 RBIs, but really didn't hit well for average. So I could see why they wanted to move on, I guess. And then Edwin Encarnacion, like Bobby stated, has great power numbers, 32 and 107. Average a little low at 246. The WAR just under 2, but he can hit the ball out of the park, there's no question. Then Carlos Santana, trying to see what he did here. Believe he hit only 229 with 24 and 86. Those are his exact numbers. And his WAR was actually around 1.7. So him and Encarnacion is a pretty even swap because Santana gets on base more. The power won't be there, but he draws more walks and probably strikes out a little less than Encarnacion. So I see how this deal makes sense now. When I first saw it, I was a little flabbergasted by it. I was kind of confused by it. I didn't understand why the Mariners want Encarnacion, but then once I broke it all down and I looked at the salary figures, it makes sense. And the Indians, this is huge for them. They've also traded Yan Gomes, and with all these moves we've mentioned, they've saved $31 million, which now makes it very likely that Corey Kluber and Trevor Bauer are not going anywhere because they had to cut payroll. They cut the payroll, and I think they're going to go into the season with their guys.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I was kind of shocked that they announced that they're most likely not going to get rid of those two guys. And those two pitchers, a lot of teams, including the Yankees, were interested in both.
Yeah.
And I see that, you know what, they dumped all that money, and they decided, you know what, why give up these great pitchers to just get some prospects?
Yeah.
But I'm going to say this. You know what? I think out of the two, I think Kluber's the best one. And I feel deep down they were never going to trade Kluber. Never. I think that was all smokescreen. Unless you gave them
an overwhelming deal.
A bona fide offer that they could not
I think the Yankees would have had to give up Andujar and Florio, honestly. That's what you were looking at. And some more prospects, too. Maybe one or two more pitchers, even.
Something like
that.
They
needed 3 or 4 solid players to move Kluber, and no one gave it to him.
And with Bauer, I think it was, they needed something in the vicinity, in that ballpark.
Bauer would be similar value too because he's only 27.
But look, the Indians, they keep their two pitchers. They feel that those are the assets that they cannot move. So you know what? You got to give them credit.
Yes.
You applaud them for it. So give them some credit.
So speaking of the Indians, they lost outfielder Michael Brantley to the Astros.
Yes.
He signed a 2-year deal for $34 million yesterday. Brantley had a great season, 3.6 wins above replacement, 17 homers, 76 ribbies, 12 steals, and a 309 average. Seemingly played well, did everything they asked, and more.
But you know what? When I saw this deal, I mean, the Astros, they go out and get somebody like Brantley, and you see what he could do back in a few years ago. He's probably one of the best outfielders of baseball.
Yes,
but
I can reference
what is his downfall?
His injuries.
He's been bitten by the injury bug all the time.
Yes, I have some stuff to say. So 2015 was the last fully healthy season he had besides last year. So he had 2 years of very injury-plagued seasons, and it is a little bit of a risk for the Astros. The value is great for Brantley. He gets $17 million for 2 years. See if he can stay healthy, maybe he'll get another good contract after if he produces for them. I think it's good for the Astros because it breaks up all those righties at the top: Bregman, Springer, Correa, and Altuve. So I would expect Brantley to slide into the 2-hole, break up those righties and lefties.
Yeah. You know what they need? This was a need. They feel like, you know what, they didn't have to overpay for somebody like Harper.
They didn't go. Yeah, they didn't. It's not too crazy.
They got an under the radar guy who they feel can, produce. They don't need him to be a stud.
Yeah,
but just fill a need.
I think he's a great contact hitter too. So that just helps even more.
And he's got speed too.
Yeah,
doesn't he?
With the 12 steals. So looking at this, there's a couple different ways to look at it. The Astros, I think, are not bringing back Marwin Gonzalez. I think we've known this for a while. And I think Marwin's going to command a larger deal for more years, so this makes sense. Brantley's a good replacement. He can't play the infields, obviously, but he'll be the left fielder for the Astros, and I think that'll be good for them. We'll see how much better it makes them. Yeah. So more Yankees stuff. Bobby spoke before about how Bauer and Kluber were targets for the Yankees, who are no longer targets and off the table. We bring back Happ. We've talked about this for a while, so the rotation is what we talked about in that worst-case situation without getting Corbin. We talked about that a couple weeks, how it would look, and here we are. So, will the Yankees add another starter? That's a big question. Could CC be the de facto 6, get a spot start? If we were to add someone else, sure, he could. But I stated on my video on Instagram on our account that I don't think we're going to add another pitcher. That's a starter. We'll get 2 more relievers, I believe. But the starters, I don't think we'll get someone else, really, because it's a rough market right now. We're not going to get Keuchel or the Japanese guy.
No.
I don't see a trade coming together right now. Unless the Yankees sign Machado, maybe they flip Andujar. And speaking of Machado, he will be with the Yankees tomorrow.
Yeah,
will the Yankees get this done? Will they sign him? He won't sign that day, most likely, because he is scheduled to visit with Philly on Thursday, unless he just blows them off and signs with us, which would be cool. But I got to say a couple things about Machado. I'm on Twitter. I'm active. I'm on Facebook, all the stuff with social media, and I have seen so much hate for this player, and the Yankees can't get him. He's going to ruin the franchise, and I just couldn't disagree more. It's pathetic how these people are thinking. Look me straight in the face and tell me that Manny Machado does not make the Yankees a better team. I dare someone to do it.
No, and I'm going to agree with you. Manny Machado makes the Yankees much more lethal. And the one thing is, he comes to the Yankees, he's one of the best, if not the best, shortstops and third baseman, wherever you put him to play, defensively. He's very good.
Yes, I like him better at third on defense, but he gets the job done in the short, too.
We know what he brings. He's played against us for years. He was on the Orioles for years. And listen, against the Yankees, he kills us. We go out and go get Yankee killers.
Yes,
we need
I like
Machado. What did we do? We all circled this. This is the guy. Between Harper and Machado, this is the guy the Yankees need.
It's been,
and now I am all in on this. Look at who's his favorite player? Alex Rodriguez, former Yankee, and Carlos Beltran. His what was his agent?
Yes, the whole Dan Lozano thing.
They have the same agents. So if you don't tell me the day before,
literally
that he's supposed to come in and visit, that they hire Carlos Beltran to be an assistant to Brian Cashman to You know why this was there? To lure him in.
Yes, this is going to help the pitch.
To make him feel comfortable.
I hope Alex Rodriguez comes too. I've been mentioning that. I want A-Rod at Yankee Stadium tomorrow.
To make him feel comfortable. And A-Rod, yes, he will be at the stadium. I will guarantee you that. He will, especially since his girlfriend, Jennifer Lopez, has a movie coming out called Second Act, so he'll be at the premiere and all that stuff. So
they're premiering in New York?
Yes. Usually all the movies have premieres in New York and Los Angeles.
Look at that. So now we're getting some celebrity news involved in this. Hey, that's outside the baseball field.
You're trying to stay a little proactive, you know?
Yeah, not too bad. So now I want to get into something else that's important for us Yankee fans.
What's that?
This report came out on ESPN, and it disgusted me about the food sanitations at the Yankee Stadium.
Oh, yuck.
It's rated on ESPN. It was rated the 5th worst out of all sporting venues, the worst in baseball. So I'm sick just thinking about the food I've eaten there before. Might have to start eating there less, but here's what's happened. 6 locations over various states, inspectors found raw, cooked, or prepared food and adulterated, contaminated, cross-contaminated, or not discarded in accordance with proper procedures. That's one part of it. Then there's the bad hygiene. At one concession stand, inspectors found personal cleanliness inadequate. Nothing in the employer outer garment was sold with the possible contaminant, and an effective hair restraint was not worn in an area where food is prepared during inspection, so that's not good. Then inspectors also found hot food at improper temperatures below 140, and flies or food refuse, sewage-associated flies in food and their non-food areas at legend level area. Yeah, this is some gross stuff. This was July of 25th of 2017, that last thing I said. So I might recommend to start eating the food outside the stadium. You might have to start
for the game. There's a McDonald's right across from Yankee Stadium.
I think that started this out a little bit. Yeah, I'd rather not get sick. So the head of the concessions at Yankee Stadium rejected this report. So I'm going to play all sides of the story here. I'm not going to be one-sided. So the quote from Dan Smith, who is the head of the food concessions at the stadium, he says, "We treat food safely with the utmost care. We disagree with the ESPN report, whose mythology is unexplainable." Okay, so he's going to deny it. And he says, "We work closely, regular inspectors with NYC, Department of Health, whose rigorous participation is welcome. We also complete our own independent assessment with various consultants and auditors, including the food safety companies. If any violations point out, addressed and corrected immediately. As a result, in 2018, all of our food stands received an A-level grade, which is the highest in New York City." So you have 2 refuted reports, obviously. Yankees can't. I understand why it would be denied. Now, the reports from ESPN are not good, but what do you make of all this?
Well, knowing me, now listen, when I go to sporting events, the one thing I also look forward to is, I get hungry. Who doesn't? Yeah,
I like the garlic. I did like the garlic fries at the stadium. The garlic fries
are the best.
But now I'm not sure.
My personal favorite is, I'm a huge fan of French fries. Anyone who knows me, French fries are like crack to me. So, I love the Nathan's cheese fries. And you're going to tell me everything you just said, that they have sewage flies in the food?
It's not pretty.
I will never, and I repeat, I will never eat at Yankee Stadium again. You could pay me all the money in the world. Unless, I'll tell you this, unless we are in the Legend Suite, which people don't know at Yankee Stadium, the Legend Suite is right behind home plate, that section behind home plate.
I trust that.
Where you could get free food, and it's all inclusive with a wristband.
Yeah.
But
maybe we'll be back there this year. We'll see.
Oh, trust me, we'll be back. We went last year against the Marlins, but
yeah, that was
listen.
Cool.
If I'm not in the Legend Suite, after this report. I don't care what this guy Smith said. This report came out that it's the 5th worst. That's disgusting.
Out of 127 arenas. We were ranked 122nd or something.
It was pitiful.
It's not pretty.
Pitiful.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you what. You know what? It's something. The Yankees are such a prominent organization. They pride themselves on excellence. You pride yourself on excellence. Go clean this up.
Yeah,
seriously.
I agree.
Where does a lot of your money come from? Revenue from food. Come on.
Yes,
New Yorkers love to eat. New Jersey people love to eat. As ourselves, we love to eat. We want to go to a game. We want to have fun. peanuts, Cracker Jacks, hot dogs, French fries. You got burgers. I mean, you got at Yankee Stadium now. You got $20 milkshakes for God's sake.
Yeah, so, the beer cups they also reuse. So like even drinking beer is questionable now to me. Like
whoa! What'd you just say?
A lot of times they reuse those beer cups. They don't get rid of those sometimes.
They reuse the beer cups?
Yeah, apparently.
No, I'd rather just have the can or give me a bottle or some stuff like that. I don't know. It's. You know what? Listen, when you told me this the other day, it was baffling to my mind because usually the Yankee, I would expect this coming from the Mets organization or something like, I don't know, like maybe the Jets organization, something like that, but not from the New York Yankees, But do I think they're going to get this cleaned up? Yeah, I believe so. And they better because especially since all the money they're going to have to spend this offseason, let's hope on some free agents. So
speaking of that information, there's now... If you look at everything the Yankees have done, he makes a great point about them spending. So there's still the issues with the luxury tax. Will we go over it? I really hope so because
I think we're going to reset it.
Right now we're at 197, and that only gives us $8 million to play with. And even if we trade Sonny Gray, that puts you to 17. And I don't think that's enough to get Didi's replacement and add some relievers. So the Yankees better go over. Obviously, if they sign Machado or Harper, they're going over. I'm seeing reports that we should wait till next year. And then they're trying to flash forward the free agent class. Get rid of that garbage. We got to win this year. I don't really care about next year right now. Like, cool, you could sign players next year. But that doesn't mean you don't get anyone this year. How many years have we been pushing this back? It's enough. 2019 is the year. It's been 10 years. They've been saying it's for like 3. Apparently, we have some breaking news.
So,
what's going on, Bobby?
So to break the news right now, Bryce Harper was talking to the Phillies. What's this?
Rhys Hopkins. The first baseman now.
The first baseman about what the city and the organization are like. So I'm going to ask you. So I'm going to tell you this. What does that mean? Basically, I don't think it really means that much. But basically,
he's trying to feel it out.
He
wants to feel it out.
And quite frankly, right now, I'm getting the indication that the Phillies might be where he lands.
There was that report that he didn't care for the city of Philadelphia.
I think that was a smokescreen.
Yes, you made a good point before that. Harper is going to go wherever the bag is. If the Yankees don't pay him and it doesn't look like we're in on him, and if we get Machado, I don't think Harper's coming. Even if we don't get him, it doesn't seem like it's going to happen. I've thought it could, but it just doesn't seem like it's going to happen.
Listen, we all want the dream to happen.
Honestly, I'm going to break it down how I did the other day, I think. Harper, the White Sox don't really have any shot to me still, unless he just wants the money. If he wants the money and nothing else, then okay, maybe White Sox. But the Phillies will make a competitive offer. Like I said, if the Dodgers open up some space in the outfield, they can be in play as well. So I think those are the 3 teams you're still looking at for him. I'm taking us out of it right now.
Yeah, so am I. I think we're focused on one guy, and that one guy is Manny Machado.
So we'll see if the Yankees could secure Machado. There was also an interesting thought on Twitter I saw. I'm not sure if this has gained any steam, but how do you feel about the Yankees trading for the Twins pitcher Jose Berrios? Berrios is 12-11 with a 3.84, 3.8 wins above replacement with a little over 200 Ks. I've seen the possibility that the Twins could trade him potentially. They're rebuilding too, although I think they want to try to compete this year, but I'm not sure if they can. Berrios will give them a great return, probably more than anyone on the roster. There hasn't been any smoke to this. This is all speculation. There's nothing imminent at all. I haven't heard that they're shopping him. It is just a thought that's not so far outside the box, I don't think.
No, and when he played against us last year, he actually did pretty well.
Yeah, he's had his good moments. He's had ups and downs.
Very underrated type
He's only pitched for 3 years, so you still don't know what his full ceiling is. So he is an interesting guy to me. I think I would welcome an addition to the Yankees, depending on what we have to give up. What do you feel he's worth?
I think he's worth taking a flyer on. I mean, it's a low-level prospect, maybe.
I think you'd probably have to give some of the better guys. Maybe
some of the better guys for Berrios.
Because he's only 24 still, and his contract's affordable.
I mean, what do you expect to give up?
Frazier, you could look at Adams.
You could give up Frazier. I could care less about Frazier. The guy is a walking injury.
Maybe even Florial, and then you don't give Andujar, and Andujar could be floated too, obviously, but I wouldn't like that trade as much, because Berrios, to me, is behind all those other guys we mentioned in the past, like Robbie Ray, Bumgarner. Although he is younger than all of them, I just don't trust him as much.
You know what? I would give away Florial, but and
Maybe Abreu or something.
No. Frazier. I want Frazier out of here. I
don't really take that whole platoon situation with Gardner and Frazier either. I'm not feeling that one so much.
Me neither,
My dad doesn't like it at all, and I don't blame him.
I don't think any
really.
Yankee fans like
No
it.
one really. So the other point with that is don't try to compete with the luxury tax and bring back Brett Gardner. Like, you can't re-sign Gardner and CeCe and then say you need to stay under the tax. Like, that does not make any sense.
Brett Gardner's not worth the money he got, and he's not worth to be in New York City anymore. I'm tired of this guy. This guy is so inconsistent. He's mediocre. He's garbage. I'm not a fan of him. I was a fan of him. I was a fan of him when he came up and he could run like Tyreek Hill fast. Remember how fast he used to be? He's not like that no more. We don't have that speed no more, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then
he's more of a plug-in guy now. Like, you want him in certain situations, like your fourth outfield, or maybe give him like 300 at bats, but you don't want him playing the whole season.
The guy is
he doesn't have it anymore.
He's so mediocre.
He plays a good defense and walks. That's why his WAR is not too bad considering his low average and power numbers.
Why wouldn't we just let him go? And honestly, if we're not going to go after Harper, and I understand, why wouldn't we go after somebody like Brantley and give him a deal like that? That's something smart like we could have done.
We do need lefties. I've stated this before. The power righties are a huge problem. Harper would have made sense in the left-handed bats. We have no left-handed bats right now, basically, with Didi out. Aaron Hicks and Greg Bird doesn't really count to me. Hicks is a switch hitter, not a full lefty either. So we need lefties. I've been preaching that for a while.
Especially at Yankee Stadium.
With the short porch.
With that short porch, you're going to hit home power. People who don't hit for power are going to hit home runs at Yankee Stadium. So the fact that they haven't prioritized getting a lefty bat, it has been kind of baffling to me.
Yeah.
Especially since the one of the best lefty hitters out there, wants to be a Yankee, but,
That's what guess we don't want him. Yeah. So So we're going to stay in the division. The Rays made a very surprising move, and Charlie Morton ended up signing with Tampa Bay. 2 years for $30 million. He slides in that rotation behind Glasnow and Snell. Maybe ahead of Glasnow, but he'll be in the top three of that rotation. Maybe they'll deploy the opener less now that they have Morton. Morton was 15-3, had over 200 strikeouts, just over, wins above replacement 3.5. He pitched great. He's getting older. 2 years is a perfect deal. I think this is a homer for Tampa, and I'm upset they have him, honestly, because I hate facing this guy.
Yeah, I didn't like facing him either, and you saw when he was on the Astros last year just the damage that he did. And there was a lot of speculation that he was either going to go back to Houston or he's going to retire. And you know what? He signs with Tampa on a 2-year deal.
Yeah, very surprising. Listen, I did not see this one coming. His home is in Delaware, so I thought maybe we would have had an outside shot. Or the Phillies they were talking up too, but he decides to go to Tampa. I guess he likes what's going on there. And hey, they won 90 games. I mean, this is a team that's improving.
Yeah, they have a new they have a new stadium getting built in Tampa.
Tampa, hold up. That might be axed, actually. They said that they may not approve the plan, and the city may not want to fund it. So now they might be stuck in that dump until 2027, apparently. I feel bad for them. I've been to that place. I really hate it. It's not fun. One of the worst stadiums I've been to. I've been to a lot of stadiums, and that one ranks close to last.
Listen, coming from somebody whose favorite city in the United States is Tampa, Florida, after I get married, that's where me and my future wife are going to move.
Yes, Bobby's a huge Tampa guy.
So I love the state of Florida, and I love the city of Tampa. I think it's up and coming. West Coast, best coast, remember that. And the one thing about Tampa, Florida, you know what? It draws a lot of people because it's such a nice place to live. Honestly, the sports teams, other than the Tampa Bay Lightning, aren't very good. But I think, they're up and coming. Maybe he feels something. He could be that spark that gets them over a small hump.
Yeah.
But
I mean, they could be a wild card team. They weren't too far off last year.
You know what?
It's a tough division we're in with the Red Sox, Yankees, and them. It's a strong 3 teams, though, going right now. Tampa's a threat. They really beat us up last year, too.
You got to understand, too, a lot of these players who sign with Florida teams, they think about themselves with money because there's no income tax.
Right, yes.
Because when you sign with teams like the Yankees,
you get taxed.
The taxes here are astronomical.
Yeah.
So a lot of people who are worrying about the money and, taxes in Florida, there's no like I just said, there's no federal income tax, so you don't have to worry about that. There's no state tax. Excuse me, I take that back. No federal income. There's no state tax. There's no state tax. So, we all wish there was no federal income tax.
Yeah.
But there's no state tax, so that's out of your check. So that's a lot of money. That's a lot. But honestly, you know what? Tampa Bay, applaud them for this. This is a good move. This guy is a very underrated pitcher. I could guarantee you right now, the Astros are definitely going to miss him, especially since they're not going to bring back Dallas Keuchel as we assume. So I think that I think the Astros need to go find another guy.
Yeah, because that's a good talk because the Astros will not bring back Keuchel, I don't think, and McCullers is out for the year. So right now, their starting rotation is looking very thin. I'm not sure what their plans are. I think they might bring Colin McHugh back in the rotation, but that still doesn't fill it out. So I don't know how they're gonna fill it. But there are some options like Wade Miley and Anibal Sanchez. But the Nationals have been linked to both of these guys to fill out the rotation.
To go along with
after the Tanner Roark trade, they need to get some help in the 4 or 5 spots. Roark was traded to the Reds, and he pitched a 9-15 record. His ERA was over 4. Not a good season for Roark by any means. So he's going to hope to turn around with the Reds, and the Nationals move on.
So,
what do you think about that for the Reds?
With the trade?
Yeah.
I thought it was nice for them. I think it filled a need.
Well, they do need starting pitchers. So,
yeah.
Speaking of needs, I actually got a question from a fan who follows the show closely, and he actually helps us with the hockey stuff.
Okay.
That would be Scott Narado.
What's Scott
And
got?
Scott asked us, what team has the most needs in the MLB offseason? There's a couple ways to look at this, because there's a lot of bad teams out there. But if you look in terms of teams trying to compete, I would actually go with the Mets. They filled some of them so far, but let's think about the Mets. They needed a catcher. They signed Wilson Ramos, which we'll get to after this. I'm going to go through the whole catching chain of events and what this can mean for Realmuto and Grandal. But the Mets needed a relief pitcher. They got Diaz. They probably needed an extra infielder. They got Cano. And they might need an extra outfielder still. So they've been talking about A.J. Pollock possibly filling that role, but he's yet to sign with anyone. So the Mets, you could say, had needs basically at every level of their team, besides starting pitching.
Yeah,
so I'm going to say the Mets had the most needs. With teams trying to compete, Mets.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I think the Mets, they had so many needs and they filled so many of them. I think they've
done pretty decent so far.
Hey, they've had a great offseason.
I didn't love the Cano trade and Diaz because I don't love Cano at this point, but the rest of it's been pretty good.
They had a great
They also brought back Familia, which I'll get into more. And in terms of the bottom teams that may have needs, you're thinking about the Royals, you're thinking about the Orioles, you're thinking about the Rangers who signed Lance Lynn to a small deal to help the rotation, but that's not going to do enough, obviously. And Lynn was not so great this year, only 11-11. His ERA was close to 5. And yeah, Lynn didn't do so good. He was okay for us, but nothing too special.
He was, I feel like he wasn't what we thought. And honestly, he was probably the best we could do at the time. When we got him.
Yeah. There wasn't much else out there. I agree with Bobby. So Orioles, Royals, Rangers are like the bottom feeders. White Sox still need a lot of stuff too. Tigers, who I'm going to talk about, Nicholas Castellanos possibly getting traded from them. They've been fielding calls from the Braves and Mets. And in the National League Central, Pirates have some needs, but the Reds are the worst team in that division, so the Reds have a ton of needs. Their pitching's horrible. Roark will help a little bit, but they need a lot more help than that. In the National League East, obviously the Marlins are a mess. They need a lot of things, and they're hoping to get some of that in the return for J.T. Realmuto whenever he gets traded. And then in the National League West, I'm still looking at the Padres because that team is a train wreck still. And they signed Ian Kinsworth to a 2-year deal for $8 million to play second, so that'll help a little bit, but nowhere near enough.
No. Absolutely not.
So that was what do you think?
About all this?
Yeah, about the off-season needs and the teams that
I think everything you said hit the nail on the head. So like I said, I think the Mets definitely were the number one team with the most needs, and all those other teams are Royals. They definitely have some needs that they're gonna have to fill. Yeah. I'm going to say this. Like I said, I think the Astros, they
have some needs too.
They
now,
have some needs.
Pitching, yeah.
But the pitching, that's where they helped win a World Series. Is that pitching staff? So
you got to question. Yeah, you got to question what
two
they
of them.
have. Yeah.
You're almost about to lose 2 of them.
Well, basically 3 because McCullers, Tommy John. He ain't pitching this year.
So
what do they have behind Cole and Verlander now? I'm not really so sure.
Nothing.
I mentioned Colin McHugh, but other than him, I don't know what else.
Nothing. So
maybe Peacock goes back in the rotation. I'm not sure.
Peacockles.
Peacock, yeah. So I got another interesting question that we can address. So Robbie Coretti asked me, what are the chances the Yankees bring in Mariano to an advisory role to oversee Cashman for the pitching moves? And I'm guessing he's asking this since we just got Beltran, so now we're just going to get all the former players, I guess.
You're going to bring Derek Jeter back to...
Well, if he wasn't stuck in Miami, we wouldn't.
I know.
But honestly, I don't see that one. I think this could have happened if we wanted it to by now. Rivera's about to be up for the Hall of Fame. I think he's busy living his life outside of baseball.
Yeah, I agree. You know what? I don't think they're going to ask him to be an advisor for pitching. I think I
understand the thought because
it could
help the pitchers, and he's the best closer of all time. So I see the thinking there. Yeah. But I don't think he's that interested because I felt like it could have happened.
No,
because he's been out of the game for a while now.
Listen. He's so done. He doesn't need to do anything else. He's so solidified. He's so established. He's the greatest closing pitcher of all time. And you know what? The Yankees with their pitching. Listen, Brian Cashman and that front office know what pitchers to get. Okay. They know what to do.
All right, so I'm gonna break down. All right, pitchers. So let's go to pitchers. The Mets signed Familia for a 3-year deal for $30 million. They brought him back, and at first glance, I was a little shocked by this. But then I kind of thought about it a little more, and I've warmed up to the idea of him being a setup man instead of the closer. You know how he makes your heart drop at closing games, so maybe the 8th will be a little easier for him. What do you think?
Yeah, getting Diaz is big with this. They brought back, but that 1-2 punch of Diaz and Familia, Diaz, I think that's going to help the Mets a lot, especially late in games if they have a lead. That's a big if.
Yeah, well, maybe they're getting towards that. So Familia was 8-6. His ERA was a little over 3. He had 18 saves, a 1.5 WAR. In his career, his ERA is a 2.7, and he has 124 saves. So I think that's a good guy to have in the 8th. He's familiar with the Mets, which is big. He doesn't have any readjustment to get acclimated with the team. He can pitch in New York. So I like it from that standpoint. They shore up their bullpen. And then another interesting move. I thought this was an under-the-radar move. The Dodgers getting Joe Kelly, 3 years for $25 million.
That's a big sign, in my opinion.
Kelly struggled in the regular season. His ERA was a little over 4, like a 4.3. But in the postseason, Kelly was lights out. The man was 2-1. His ERA was under 1 with 13 strikeouts. Gave up just 1 run the whole playoffs. The Dodgers like that. I think that earns him his money. So Joe Kelly has now moved all the way across the country.
Yes, and he is very underrated, and you saw him in the World Series in the playoffs, just how dominant he could be, and he was such a major asset for the Red Sox.
He's a big strikeout guy at 68 on the season.
And he also, the one thing, the Red Sox weakness last year was their bullpen, but he was not a part of that weakness. He was a huge strength.
Not in the playoffs, no way.
No, you don't.
No, I'm saying you're right. He was not a part of the problem in the playoffs.
No.
In the regular season, he struggled a little bit, but when they needed him to come through, he did, unfortunately.
I'm going to tell you what, the Red Sox are definitely going to miss him. And he went, you know what? He got paid. He's a World Series champion. There's nothing that nobody can ever take that away from him. He's earned it. So great signing by the Dodgers because they're trying to get better and better. They're always on that brink. Maybe he helps them get over that.
I have another suggestion to help them later on that I think you see where I'm going with this, what we talk about next. But I'm going to finish the thoughts on the pitchers here. We've been talking about Britton, Ottavino, Miller, David Robertson, and Craig Kimbrell for like 3 weeks, and these guys still aren't signed. And here's what I'm getting so far. Ottavino looks like it's down to White Sox, Red Sox, and Yankees. David Robertson, I think, is Yankees or Red Sox because he has a house in Rhode Island, so I could see them prying him away maybe. I saw a report the Dodgers were interested, but since they signed Joe Kelly, I think he's out of the question. I don't think Robertson wants to go across the country anyway, really, at this point in his career. He's representing himself. I think he wants to stay around here, so I'm guessing Yankees or Red Sox, maybe even Mets. That's my wild card. Because the Mets are in on Andrew Miller, apparently. Miller seems to be Phillies, Yankees, or Mets. That's what I've read from Andrew Miller. And Zach Britton could be Phillies or Yankees, maybe even Red Sox to get in the mix there. But I think these guys are all waiting for Craig Kimbrell to set the market. I think that could be the holdup here. He wants a 6-year deal. The guy's out of his mind. He's not getting it. He wants to be paid more than Chapman, and Kelly Jansen doesn't deserve that either. And I don't know how long he's going to wait, but this man won't get a 6-year deal, I don't think.
No. And listen, you remember when Chapman wanted a 6-year deal, and what happened? He didn't get it. He settled for $5.96.
Yes.
So, he's not... Craig Kimbrel is a good closing pitcher. I'm not going to say
he's struggled in the playoffs.
He's good.
I don't think he's great anymore. I would say he's above average, obviously.
Where was he on? The Braves?
Yes. Yeah. And then the Padres for a quick second that no one remembers because the Padres are that relevant.
Here's what I'm going to say. He's not going to... That demand he wanted, he will not get that. I'm going to say he's going to sign for... I'm going to say Chapman money right now. $5.96, $97. That sounds about right.
Yeah, like $5.80 or something like that.
You're being a bit too greedy here, Craig Kimbrel.
Yes, get the reliever market moving, please.
But honestly, with these relievers, I'm just going to tell you that I'm going to say this in my opinion. I want to give you my opinion on these relievers. I think the Yankees...
What do you think is... And we've tried to piece them together for a while. What do you have for me? What do you think?
I think Ottavino for the Yankees would be perfect for that bullpen. I really do.
I like him.
Yankees,
he's a good strikeout guy.
The Yankees had the best bullpen in baseball a few years ago with Betances, Miller, and Chapman.
Do we get Miller back?
I want him back. I want him back.
He may also be the cheapest option of all of them.
Listen,
except maybe Roberts.
Get him back. Get the best bullpen in baseball back. Come on back. This is how we're going to get successful. This is how we're This is how we're going to move from being a wild card team to a division.
Yes,
champion.
this is what we need to do. Like I've said, enough wild card. It's division time. We haven't won it since 2012, and that's
enough with the wild card. Enough.
The 1-game playoffs starting to get a little too cardiac for me. I don't like to be in that cardiac for those games.
Get your blood pressure.
It's going to put me on cardiac arrest if we go on the 1-game wild card again. God, I get nervous for those. So I teased the catching situations with Realmuto. So now we're going to play the dominoes for the catchers. So the Mets signed Ramos, and
2 years, $19 million.
This is a great move for the Mets because they don't have to overpay for JT, and they don't have to overpay Yasmani Grandal. So Ramos hit .306, 15 homers, 70 RBIs in just 111 games. That's some pretty solid numbers in just 111 games.
This is the guy from the Rays, right?
Yes, he was a Ray, then to Philly. Washington had him, now he's a Met.
Oh, he's
so this will be his fourth team. He's 31 years old. The 2-year deal's perfect because I'm not sure how much catching he has left in him. He's never really played more than 130 games. Injuries are a concern, so the Mets got to be crossing their fingers. You know how the Mets are with injuries. I don't need to say anything else about that.
Nope.
So he's a .273 career hitter. He threw out 29% of runners and only had 8 passed balls. And you look at Yasmani Grandal. Grandal hit just .237, had 23 homers and 65 RBIs. His WAR was slightly higher at 3.3, but he played more games, 140. But Grandal had 9 passed balls and threw out 28% of his runners. So the stats defensively are so similar, it's crazy. Except Ramos played a couple less games, but those two are pretty similar, although Ramos is a better average hitter. So I think this is better because Grandal will get more. He's 30, so he might get a 3-year deal. Could be 3 for 45, maybe even 3 for 50 for Grandal if someone gets desperate. They say the Angels aren't interested in Grandal, which makes a lot of sense. They don't really have anyone behind the plate. That's another team with a lot of needs. The Angels don't seem to ever have it going in the rotation, and their skill position players in the field can use some work. Albert Pujols is ancient. They did sign Justin Bour. I like this move for them, actually. He's a first baseman, used to be in the Marlins, then got traded to Philly. He's underwhelmed, but he had 27 homers in 2017 and hit close to 290. So Bour's a very capable player. How do you feel? Do you think this is a good shot for the Angels?
Well, I think it helps them. I think Bour, one thing with Justin Bour that people don't really know about him is he has power. And, plug him in anywhere, he's a pro's pro. I could tell you right now the Yankees were interested at him in the trade deadline last year.
Yeah, but he was a thought for us too, I felt like, because the lefty at Yankee Stadium, he still hit 20 and 59. His average was horrible, 227 last year. He had a down year.
I think, they needed to get somebody cheap, and they got somebody.
Yeah, this is 1 year, 2.5. The Angels don't really spend much money right now.
This is just like a prove it deal.
Another prove it deal,
and right now, with the Angels, don't they have a lot of controversy? They don't. Oh, the manager, Sosha, he's left, right?
Yes, they have Brad Ausmus now.
Brad Ausmus.
And Ohtani can't pitch due to Tommy John. He'll be hitting. Albert Pujols will still be there, even though he's ancient. And obviously you have Mike Trout. So that's what the Angels are looking at.
The best outfielder in baseball, in my opinion.
So back to the catching situation here. So now that the Marlins are starting to lose suitors for J.T. Realmuto, the Mets, the Braves, and the Phillies have conceivably backed out of the Realmuto talks. And the Nationals are not in the Realmuto talks since they got Yan Gomes. So there's about 2 to 3 teams I think this is down to. The Dodgers, who I mentioned before, and this is how I think they can get over the top. I think the Dodgers got to go get Realmuto, secure that catching situation, have the better defense, better offense. Maybe he can get them over the top. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think a player with the stature of J.T. Realmuto going to L.A. Dodgers is something that...
I'm going to propose a trade here.
I think that should happen.
I'm going to say the Dodgers should send Puig and their top prospect, Alex Guerrero, to the Marlins. And maybe some other minor ones to even it out. That's my proposal.
You know what? That's not a bad idea. I like that one. Especially, you
give him a top prospect. You give him an outfielder. Maybe they could sign him on their terms after this year because he'll be a free agent. And they bring the Cuban to Miami. All the Cubans like Miami.
I was literally just going to say that.
So I'm sure that's appealing.
I'm sure Puig will love it.
Even though they're not a winning team. But I'm sure he'd like to be in South Beach. So
yeah. I think that Realmuto for the Dodgers just makes way too much sense.
I think it'll end up happening.
And
the dark horse is Tampa Bay, though. Watch out for Tampa Bay because Realmuto's under team control for 2 years. His contract's not that high. They could afford to play him for 2 years. And if the Rays get Realmuto, you better watch out. Oh, man, I would not want to see that.
No, boy. We'll see what happens.
Hopefully that doesn't happen.
Definitely something worth noting in the rest of the offseason.
Yeah. So the Nationals also made another minor move. They brought back Matt Adams to a 2-year deal for $8 million. He's been with them before.
The first baseman?
Yeah, he's with the Cardinals. 21 and 57. To me, it's kind of just like a depth move. Get some more depth for that first base area.
Yeah.
So maybe
nothing really
throw him in the outfield if you have to in an emergency, but I wouldn't recommend that. They've done it before though. So honestly, I think that's an alright move. It's kind of whatever. Another guy that's popped up on the radar, 2 more players I'm going to talk about, then we may wrap this up. Nelson Cruz has popped up on the Astros, Twins, and Tampa Bay. This is
something worth noting because this guy...
This is a big-time player. He's
he's
38 years old, but he's still at 37 homers and 97 ribbies in that pitcher's ballpark in Safeco. Almost 3 wins above replacement. Did hit just 250, but you're getting this guy to put the ball in the seats, not to hit for average.
No. Definitely. You're getting him to hit home runs.
He will make a big impact to wherever he ends up. They did say the White Sox were an issue, but now since they got Alonso, that can't happen. The DH spot is filled up, so Nelson Cruz, maybe Tampa Bay, Houston are very plausible destinations for him.
Knowing Houston, in my opinion, just that you said Houston, knowing them,
their pitching's down, so they may just try to load the sticks and just out-hit everyone.
And don't be surprised if that's where he
goes. Because if you look at them adding Brantley and Cruz and subtracting Mario Gonzalez, I think that's a win for the Astros.
Yeah, I agree.
Unfortunately, because I don't like them too much, obviously, after everything we've been through with them.
Exactly.
But, so I think that would be huge for the Astros. Hopefully he goes somewhere else.
Yeah,
now, the other interesting thing that's maybe a little bit under the radar here, the Tigers have been shopping Nicholas Castellanos, saying he's available for trade. Castellanos is a very underappreciated player, in my opinion, because he plays for the Tigers. No one pays attention to him, really. But he's a third baseman, right fielder. He had 23 and 86 RBIs, and he hit for 298 average. His WAR was just under 3. It would have been higher, but his defense is horrible. I think that's the issues the Tigers have with him. They don't really know what position to put him at. They have a third baseman that's better defensively, I think, but he can break. And they've reported that the Mets are in on him, which I think would be a huge addition for them. Maybe they could even play him at third, or they could chuck him in the outfield too, because Lagares probably won't last too long. So that would be interesting. And the Braves are another interesting fit to me, because maybe they would move Caminero for Castellanos. And the Braves or Mets get Castellanos, that'll be a huge addition to either team.
I agree. I think that you hit the nail right on the head with he's an underappreciated player. You could put him anywhere in the outfield, and you could put him in the
wouldn't put in the corner. You're right.
I mean,
not
center,
the corner.
Not center. No, the corner outfield.
Play him in the corner of third base.
The corner, the hot corner of third base, and you could put him in left or right. So I think that that makes teams looking at him, want him more. So. It's going to be worth noting where he goes. Honestly, I could see the Mets swooping in and getting him because they've been doing that all off season.
Yeah, I'm just not sure how much they're willing to trade since they backed off on Realmuto. Does it make more sense for him to sign AJ Pollock? Maybe Castellanos could have more upside than Pollock because he's younger. Pollock has maybe proven a little bit more, so it'll be interesting to see what they want to do. But the Mets aren't done, in my opinion. They may add. I'm guessing they're going to add another reliever and another outfielder before the offseason's over.
No, I agree.
So for GNT Sports Hot Stove, that's all we got time for today.
Yep. We'll be back next Tuesday. Is Christmas.
Yes,
so
I think we're going to have a special edition basketball, actually, for that. We got to because there's going to be 5 games for that. But for today, I'm Julian Gallardi.
I'm Bobby Thompson.
And we'll see you next time.